Welcome back to Movies Explained. Today's film is a crime drama from 2012 titled Disconnect. The movie opens with Kyle, a young man living in a rundown house with several teens who work as adult entertainers. Kyle streams on his laptop from his cramped and unkempt room. During his stream, a woman named Nina requests a private show, but instead of engaging in Kyle's suggestive behavior, she expresses her desire to simply talk about innocent topics. Nina is revealed to be a reporter working for a small local news station. She requests permission from her boss to write an article about Kyle and other teenagers involved in adult entertainment. Later that evening, during another private broadcast, Nina asks about Kyle's future aspirations. Instead of responding directly, Kyle persuades her to turn on her camera, surprising himself with the sight of a beautiful woman, despite her being much older than he is. In the same town, two teenage boys named Fry and Jason are pranking an unsuspecting customer in a crowded mall. A quiet boy named Ben notices they're giggling but quickly leaves when they spot him. Later, at Jason's house, the boys access Facebook on Fry's iPad and stumble upon Ben's account. Seizing the opportunity for mischief, they decide to play a prank on Ben by pretending to be Jessica, a music-loving girl from another school. However, their prank is cut short when Jason's father, Mike, unexpectedly enters the room. Jason immediately adopts a stiff demeanor, reflecting the strained relationship he shares with his father. Meanwhile, back home, Ben excitedly checks his Facebook and discovers a message from Jessica. Delighted to connect with another music enthusiast, he seems genuinely happy about the prospect of their online friendship. At the same time, Ben's father, Rich, arrives home, still preoccupied with a phone call related to his work as a lawyer. Derek, an office worker, packs for a business vacation while his wife Cindy contacts her doctor. Derek says he's late for work and leaves when she tells him the doctor said they can try for another baby soon. After Derek leaves, Cindy watches a video of him playing with their late baby boy. She then receives a message from a user called Fear and Loathing in an online grief support group. Cindy seems to know him well as she tells him today is her son's birthday, and she is grieving alone while Derek is in El Paso for business. As the day turns to evening, Cindy continues her conversation with Fear and Loathing, who suggests they meet in person to share their experiences of grief. This interaction is interrupted by a call from Derek, who informs her that his card has been declined while attempting to gamble online. He questions Cindy about possibly maxing out the card, but she denies any involvement. Feeling dejected that Derek's call was motivated by financial concerns rather than emotional support, Cindy, in a moment of vulnerability, agrees to a future meeting with Fear and Loathing. The following day, Jason and Fry are amused as they read Ben's responses to Jessica. They share a laugh when Ben reacts positively to their provocative texts. Meanwhile, at Ben's house, his family, including his sister Abby and mother Lydia, gather for dinner. Lydia and Rich attempt to engage Ben in conversation, but Abby playfully teases him for being preoccupied with his phone, suspecting he's chatting with a girlfriend. The family soon returns to their activities. In his room, Jason uses Fry's iPad to continue the charade with Ben as Jessica. Their conversation touches on feelings of alienation within their own families and mutual disdain for their fathers. At school, Jason and Fry observe Ben eating alone in the cafeteria and decide to escalate their prank by sending him an inappropriate image from the internet. Meanwhile, Cindy receives a shocking phone call from the bank, informing her that their credit card and bank information have been stolen and used for significant purchases. Upon returning home, Derek immediately contacts the bank to investigate the fraudulent activity on their account. The bank representatives inform them of a month-long investigation process, leaving Derek exasperated as their current financial situation cannot withstand such a delay. Frustrated, Derek reaches out to his brother, Mike, a private investigator, seeking help in apprehending the perpetrator behind their stolen identity. Mike arrives at their home to copy the couple's hard drives for further investigation. While Derek initially dismisses the need for such meticulous measures, Mike emphasizes the severity of the situation, highlighting the potential for identity theft beyond mere financial fraud. Left alone, Mike delves into their drives, uncovering glimpses into Derek's past as a Marine and a stark reminder of their absent child. Following her boss's approval of her piece on Kyle and his fellow young streamers, Nina extends an invitation to him, proposing an interview at the skate park. Despite her initial claim of wanting to simply talk, Kyle, feeling deceived by her true intentions as a reporter, declines the offer and leaves. Upon returning home, Kyle introduces a new member to the fold, a 15-year-old boy he encountered at the skate park. This young boy joins the ranks of other teenagers managed by Harvey, Kyle's boss, who oversees their online streaming activities. Witnessing the overwhelming number of older viewers flocking to the boy's initial stream, Kyle reaches out to Nina, proposing a disguised interview in exchange for anonymity. In a hotel room setting, Nina conducts the interview, adhering to Kyle's request by obscuring his face and altering his voice. Throughout the interview, Kyle unveils the inner workings of the industry, highlighting the lucrative nature of younger models within the streaming world. As a celebration of their successful collaboration, the two indulge in smoking marijuana within the confines of the empty hotel room. Meanwhile, at the news station, Nina watches with anticipation as her report and the interview with Kyle are broadcast for the first time. The piece is a success, capturing the attention of viewers, including Kyle, who watches the broadcast from his laptop. In his room, Ben fixates on the provocative image sent by Jessica. Feeling compelled to reciprocate, he takes a drastic step. He undresses and writes "love slave" on his thighs before snapping a mirror selfie. Fry receives this photo while playing video games with Jason. They both laugh initially, but Fry notices a hint of empathy in Jason's reaction. The following day, the repercussions of Ben's impulsive action become painfully evident. His intimate photo has rapidly circulated throughout the school, leaving him exposed and vulnerable. As he grapples with this harsh reality, he reaches out to Jessica on Facebook, seeking an explanation for the betrayal. Meanwhile, his mother, unaware of the turmoil her son is facing, checks on him. But he masks his pain and pretends to be okay. The situation takes a dire turn later that day. Abby, Ben's sister, momentarily leaves her room, intending to ask Ben to lower his music. She is confronted with a horrifying scene. Ben, in a state of utter despair, has attempted to hang himself. Reacting swiftly, Abby desperately works to save her brother. In a frantic and emotional struggle, she manages to cut the belt and free him. Ben is promptly taken to the hospital, where he lies unconscious but alive, a stark reminder of the devastating impact of cyberbullying and the fragility of adolescent mental health. Mike presents his security report to Derek and Cindy, suggesting that fear and loathing, an online contact of Cindy's, might be responsible for hacking their data. Derek, upon hearing this, suspects an emotional affair between Cindy and fear and loathing, despite her denials. Mike identifies the suspect as Steven, residing in Philadelphia, and notes the need for concrete evidence to prove Steven's involvement in the data theft. Derek leaves the house and takes the report with him, as Cindy fears that he'll read everything she talked about with Steven in the report. Indeed, Derek reads the report, uncovering Cindy's feelings about his emotional absence following the death of their son. Meanwhile, as Derek watches their house being repossessed due to the unpaid mortgage, Mike arrives to collect his payment. Derek, desperate, asks Mike to physically confront Steven to expedite the process of obtaining proof. However, Mike refuses and advises against resorting to violence. Recognizing Derek's terrible financial situation, Mike compassionately returns his payment. Determined to confront Steven, Derek informs Cindy of his plan to handle the situation himself. However, Cindy insists on accompanying him, wanting to be involved in resolving the issue that has deeply affected their lives. Following Ben's hospitalization, his father Rich is overwhelmed with distress. He frantically contacts the police, the school, and anyone who might shed light on the reasons behind Ben's suicide attempt. Desperate for answers, Rich turns to Ben's laptop, searching for any clue that might help him understand his son's mindset. Meanwhile, Lydia, Ben's mother, urges him to come to the hospital, but Rich is consumed by his quest for understanding. Upon accessing Ben's Facebook, Rich finds it empty until he stumbles upon the messages from Jessica and the interactions she had with Ben. This discovery leads him to suspect she might be connected to Ben's actions. Meanwhile, Jason, realizing the gravity of the situation, asks Fry for his iPad. He plans to delete the Jessica profile outside of school to avoid potential investigation. At home, Jason sees a message from Rich, who is seeking more information about the relationship between Ben and Jessica. In a moment of defensiveness, Jason suggests that Ben might have felt his father didn't care about him. When Rich asks to call and discuss further, Jason, feeling the pressure, quickly logs out. The situation escalates when Abby, in the kitchen, inadvertently finds the naked photo of Ben that had been circulating at the school. This shocking discovery finally brings the family to a painful realization of the extent of the cyberbullying Ben endured and the likely catalyst for his desperate act. Derek and Cindy arrive near Stephen's residence in Philadelphia, intent on confronting the man they suspect is behind their financial woes. As they survey the area, they notice an expensive BMW pulling into his driveway, which further fuels their suspicion that Stephen might be living off their stolen money. The man matches the picture Cindy had received, and she confesses to Derek that she had also sent Stephen a photo of herself. The couple follows the man to a laundromat where he works, contradicting their expectations of his lifestyle. Derek decides to confront Stephen directly. He enters the laundromat, posing as a customer, but his demeanor is unsettling and borderline threatening. His plan is interrupted when another customer arrives, prompting Derek to leave the store. While waiting outside Stephen's house, Derek and Cindy reminisce about the early days of their relationship. Derek even opens up about his time as a Marine, a topic he usually avoids. This challenging situation seems to be drawing out aspects of Derek's character shaped by his military past. Seizing an opportunity when Stephen leaves his house, the couple breaks in, searching for any evidence of his involvement in their financial troubles. They manage to leave undetected, taking with them documents they hope will prove Stephen's guilt. Back in their car, Derek analyzes the documents while vowing to confront Stephen the next day. In his hand, a glint of metal reflects the setting sun, a chilling promise of the confrontation to come. Nina's career takes an exciting turn when her boss informs her that CNN is interested in featuring her piece on their special program. This opportunity is a significant milestone for Nina, and she is thrilled. As the piece airs, Nina and her colleagues gather at her house to watch and celebrate this professional achievement. However, as the celebration winds down and only Nina and her boss remain, the mood shifts. Nina receives an unexpected call from Kyle, who informs her that he's in the lobby of her apartment building, eager to celebrate her success with her. Despite her initial hesitation and her boss's evident surprise that she had given Kyle her address, Nina allows him upstairs. After her boss leaves, Kyle tells Nina that he's been thinking about his future and that he might want to leave Harvey, but he doesn't have anywhere to go. The conversation takes a personal turn when Kyle, in a moment of impulsiveness, kisses Nina. She doesn't reciprocate, but skillfully diffuses the situation by mentioning her early morning commitments. At home, Rich takes a work call while confronting Jessica about Ben's naked picture. He must come and counsel a TV station, which turns out to be the one Nina works in. The FBI has shown up at the station, investigating the child exploitation done in the streaming platforms Harvey uses. They want to know the address of the house that they all gather in. Nina, caught in a dilemma, refuses to cooperate, citing her lack of knowledge about the address and her unwillingness to betray Kyle's trust. When the agents insinuate that Nina might be involved in an affair with Kyle, Rich intervenes. He takes Nina and her boss aside, suggesting that Nina should be suspended until she complies with the FBI's demands for information. Distressed by her suspension and the unfolding events, Nina reaches out to Kyle, asking him to call her. Rich returns home and continues his conversation with Jessica about Ben, expressing his guilt and feelings of inadequacy as a father, despite his deep love for his son. Unbeknownst to Rich, it's Jason who is behind the Jessica account. Jason finds himself empathizing with Rich, even calling him nice. Rich, in a moment of introspection, remarks that Jason seems lonely, but quickly apologizes, redirecting the blame onto himself for not being a better father. Jason feels sorry for Rich and says that we didn't mean for this to happen. When Rich questions the meaning of we, Jason, realizing his slip-up, abruptly logs out of the account. When Nina receives a call from Kyle, she expresses her desire to help him gain independence and leave Harvey's operation for a brighter future. Kyle initially responds with enthusiasm to her offer. However, he becomes hesitant when Nina requests his address, asking for more time to consider. Kyle eventually gives her the address, which Nina agrees to share with the FBI on the condition that they ensure Kyle's safety. However, word of the raid reaches Harvey, forcing Kyle and the others to scramble. In a frantic rush, they pack their belongings and flee to a motel outside town. As Kyle informs Nina of their escape, her world crumbles. Panic sets in, and she erupts at the FBI agents for their incompetence. The situation escalates when Kyle, now at the motel, calls Nina. During their conversation, Nina reveals that the FBI coerced her into revealing his location. Feeling betrayed, Kyle abruptly ends the call in anger. Despite this setback, Nina remains determined. She decides to drive to the motel herself in a bid to help Kyle. As Rich delves deeper into uncovering the identity behind Jessica's account, his appearance becomes increasingly unkempt during his time at the hospital. His fixation on finding the person responsible, rather than focusing on Ben's care, creates a rift between him and Lydia. In a twist of fate, Jason, the person behind Jessica, visits Ben in the hospital and unexpectedly encounters Rich. Caught off guard, Jason fabricates a story, introducing himself as Mike and claiming to be a friend of Ben's. Rich, unaware of the truth, engages in conversation with him in the hospital cafeteria. Later at home, Rich shares the encounter with Lydia and Abby, but they are skeptical, having no knowledge of a friend named Mike. Rich's suspicions are piqued, leading him to scour the school yearbook for Jason's true identity. This obsessive behavior alarms his family, particularly Abby, who breaks down in tears, distressed by her father's manic demeanor. Rich's intense focus on unmasking Jessica underscores his desperation to understand the events that led to Ben's tragic situation, even at the cost of his family's emotional well-being. At Jason's house, he and Fry are frantically trying to delete the Jessica profile from Mark's computer. Their efforts are nearly thwarted when Mike, Jason's father, unexpectedly walks in. The boys quickly concoct a story about searching for a charger to cover their tracks. However, Mike becomes suspicious when he spots the fake profile they are logged into and confronts them. Eventually, Fry reveals that they caused Ben to hurt himself. Mike tells Fry to leave before he scolds his son, saying how awful Ben's father must feel right now. Jason yells that he knows Rich and that he's a better father than Mike before storming away. In the end, Mike decides to use his skill as an ex-cybercrime cop to delete all data on Fry's iPad. Amidst this, Mike receives a call regarding Derek and Cindy's case, pulling him back into another complex situation. Derek and Cindy drive to Steven's house at night, but Mike calls Derek to tell him that Steven is not the culprit. He's also a victim, and the real culprit is only using his IP address as a proxy. Derek seems frustrated that Steven is not the guy, but he decides to confront him anyway. Rich confronts Jason's father, Mike, at their house door. He demands that Jason receive psychiatric help for his role in Ben's harm, sparking a heated argument between the two fathers. Meanwhile, Derek arrives at Steven's doorstep, only to be met by the barrel of a rifle. Steven, fearing for his safety, mistakes Derek for a stalker and aims the weapon at him. In a parallel scene, Nina desperately tries to convince Kyle to leave with her, but he accuses her of exploiting him. Their argument reaches a climax as Harvey intervenes, shoving Nina to the ground. As these events unfold, chaos erupts. Rich accidentally strikes Jason's arm with a hockey stick during the fight with Mike. Derek manages to disarm Steven, taking control of the rifle, and Harvey's violence leaves Nina injured. The movie ends with Kyle leaving with Harvey, Cindy successfully calming Derek and preventing him from shooting Steven, and Rich reconciling with Mike. The final scene shows Rich returning to Ben's hospital room where he embraces his family, symbolizing a moment of unity and healing after the chaos. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos.